Poštovanje, dame i gospodo. Molim da nam se pridruže oni koji se još nisu pridružili. Hvala vam lijepa što ste se vratili. Znači, svaki hrvatski kongres ima uvijek jednu te istu grešku, a to je dajte ljudima da jedu i onda se ne vrate. Znači, tako je nažalost i ovaj put. Pola je već otišlo po sobama i na poslijepodnevni odmor, ali zato vi koji ste se vratili vrijedite dvostruko više i hvala vam puno. Ja sam Ivica Đuzel, radim na Hrvatskoj televiziji, imam emisiju Turizam HRT koja se isključivo bavi turizmom i bit ću bar jednim dijelom vaš poslijepodnevni domaćin ovog jednog međunarodnog dijela, ovog 6. po redu međunarodnog kongresa. Rekli smo da on ima međunarodnu važnost, pa smo ovaj dio posvetili stranim uglednim predavačima i iskustvima drugih zemalja. Prije toga, naravno, nadam se da ste uživali u predstavljanju brenda Skrivena Dalmacija, naša Dalmacija, dalmatinski marendi ili ne znam nija kako ga sve mi ovdje zovemo, jer znamo koliko je gastronomija važna u privlačenju gostiju u neku destinaciju, pa prema posljednjim podacima Hrvatskog instituta za turizam, zajedno sa kulturnim znamenitostima i naravno ovim prekrasnim vremenom kakvog imamo samo ovdje u Dalmaciji, upravo je enogastronomija ključna pri odabiru jedne destinacije za suvremenog gosta. Zato će naša prva uvažena gošća upravo govoriti o turizmu vina, vrhunske hrane, ali pred ovim novim izazovima i inflacije i povećane potražnje, ulogama lanaca opskrbe i lokalnih politika. Molim vas, veliki pljesak za Magdu Antonioli. Willkommen, benvenuti. Viša profesorica na Bocconi School of Management i potpredsjednica Europske komisije putovanja, šta god da to značilo. Eto, hvala vam lijepa. Enjoy.
Thank you. Only this one. Okay. Distinguished guests, authorities, and friends, thank you very much for inviting me. Like Mr. Cabrini this morning, I should tell you that I was used to come for holidays here. So I also represent the demand and not just an approach from the supply side. What are we speaking about on the digestion after the beautiful food we had? I wrote Foodies and Wine Lovers. Why did I write something like that? Yesterday we had the role and the challenges played by food, wines, all the products for the rural and peripheral territories development. So I call the demand Wine Lovers, and I said, well, let us start a bit from the demand. What people, the new tourists, the tourists which are elder or the new, like Gen Z and so on, are looking for. Do we represent what they're looking? Because sometimes we think to be a bit old, to be our agriculture world is not so much related to development, to web, to technologies and so on. And they really represent what our demand is looking for. So the idea was to go to move a bit on the demand supply and then to go on strategies and governance, because we should do something. And when we say strategies and governance, I will stop in particular on wine routes, on taste and wine route itineraries, let's say, because that can represent how to cooperate, how to promote, how to do marketing experience, how to communicate, and so on. So, why it doesn't go? Do I have to do it? Help. It was not on. Doesn't want me, but I go on again. I should say, even if we still don't know, that I'm using a PowerPoint, a kind of traditional and orthodox PowerPoint, because I prefer to give you, since then you go through the materials, some kind of references rather more than beautiful videos or pictures, as I'm using the last time, in the last years, after the COVID in particular. Why do I use those? Because I try, sorry for the translator, to go a bit surfing on some concepts which are written, because so you can have a bit the, let's say, the philosophical approach in order to reach the marketing program we would like to underline. So what is happening now to tourism? Tourists are much more concerned with lifestyle, let's say, well-being, taking care about the environment, mostly the generation Gen Z and so on. So they take, but also millennials, they started. So we should look at their behavior in order to be in touch with the territory. And also we speak about two peculiar sectors with the common characteristics, and the two sectors are agriculture and tourism. Both of them have their strengthness in authenticity, typicity, the use of the land from that point of view. So they are not so, they're very close, much more than a sea tourism, a seaside tourism rather than mountain and so on. I really don't, I use it always for my talks every day. So I'm quite used, but it doesn't like, here, yeah. So do you agree with me that I say fine food, wine, and so on, also oil, we will see the difference in a while, represent an emerging segment for tourism, is not a niche anymore, but is represent quite a strong idea. And something else that I would like to underline is that wine and gastronomy is transversal to any kind of tourism. So if I decide to go to on the Adriatic on the left or on the right side in Italy or in Croatia, maybe that the food is a component for the MICE sector and so on. That is very relevant. And the post-COVID, we have a lot of implication, a good development for our. The last point which I want to underline is that it is to all the effects, a real cultural tourism, because people are not starving, are not thirsty in particular, but they want to know, they want to meet the owner, they want to have the experience and so on. The tourism I spoke about is the experience tourism, which moves, next one, we do like that, so maybe better, because, or you give a solution. So what do I have to do? Yeah, I use this. Anyhow, so it is a kind of cultural tourism, and it's very sensitive. He's upset with me now, because it's growing a lot, not just for the attention to the, let's say, agriculture background of this tourism, but to the quality, to take care about the denomination, the production, the special production, and so on, but also related to typical, safe, organic, to the lifestyle of people, and also to the growing demand for short breaks. We should not undervalue that it is a kind of tourism that you can do in addition to your summer or winter holidays. Now, when tourism is predominant, I spoke about wine in particular, but we say, I am one of the founders of the wine tourism movement in Italy, and then we moved to a lot of other products. That happened many years ago. But the idea is that is a kind of carriage, because wine is much more in the mind of people related to quality, to certain products, to a kind of path. For example, you start from the harvest, you have different typical moment in which you can have tourists, you can share the experience. I didn't use experience up to now. I wanted to use as less as possible this idea, but it's the experience what people are looking for with wellness and so on. So it is growing, it is in a lot of places and so on, but that is a bit the idea. Wine usually is also the first, or wine and fine food is the first, let's say, the prime factor when you decide to do an holiday in the rural sector, in the peripheral territories and so on. But if we put together two other factors, it's always the second if it's not the first. So it is in a very high position for that. How to enhance agricultural products? I spoke about theory, let's say. It was not theory, but theory. And this is the translation into operational marketing instrument. How to enhance what we said, we are speaking about creating strong connection between agriculture and local production, guarantee the quality of production. So the first part is related to European agricultural policy. So we have an additional tool in order to represent what we are doing and the reason for which we get funds as well. We should say this as well. But to educate consumer about quality, to keep a connection between production and the cultural value of the territory. And when we speak about culture, it's a new culture. It's not, it is still the church, the museum, and the landscape and so on, but it's a creative culture. That means that if I go out and I saw all the beautiful things which were on the little tables, I want to know how they are created. So I want to meet the person who tell me the real storytelling, and not just on the web, but the real storytelling is meeting people to get experience and so on, to keep the rural environment, of course, and to protect cultural and historical traditions. It has been demonstrated that we can go back to tell people how we were using. So also the speech we had yesterday and today, how young people should not leave the property, the real estate condition and so on, they were very famous. And wine and food tourism represent our position in order to do that. They asked me to give you figures. I don't give you figures because I do not have time, but you can get 2 tables on which we speak about figure, what is going on in Italy, what about people, and so on, the percentage. We have different percentage. I have another hat, we say in English, and we say, or hat, we say in Italian, and in English you say T-shirt. I have another one that I am the president of the Italian National Tourist Observatory for all tourism in general, but in particular we are developing that because many people, everybody is able to give figures because you do research, you publish, and that is good. I'm not saying that it's complicated, but we must have a kind of average. So I try to give you the most common national, let's say, national-wide research, because sometimes you go in certain regions and you have different level of development. No, after I will tell you something else. So there are 2 different pages on that. If you are interested, you go and you read once that you are at home, if you are interested, how many people and so on. We have people who are not used to drink any wine or any alcoholic, and they go to do wine tourism, for example. It's very strange because they still want to know. They use it for special celebration rather than they use it to give as a present. It's very strange because the value is very conic and so can be very useful and so on. So the idea is new tourist, but tourism in general, not a niche, very interest on that. That is the first, let's say, tool in order to develop rural peripheral territories. So we are on the pipeline of what we are speaking about, very important values, and the values are related not just to what we want to tell people, but they are really looking for that. And sometimes our demand is as a higher knowledge of what we are teaching them. What I mean is we should not forget to tell them those contexts which are related real to the typicity, to the land, to the local use, and so and so. Now I go slower because I want to tell you something more. In general, we always have a question, or not more than a question, the sentence, which says that if we are in the countryside, if we are under a grape tree, or if we are in the harvest, by definition, such a kind of tourism is sustainable. Not at all. Sustainability is something else. We spoke this morning. We know what it is in practice, since we know what is behind. So we have some factors influencing sustainability, which must be followed, which is one of our first targets, and so and so. Which are the factors affecting in order to be sure that we have a real sustainable kind of tourism? That, by the way, Cabrini told us, is that one that demand is looking for. So we should not forget that we cannot forget to keep under interest at that point. Characteristic of the dimension, of the destination, which can be dimension, carrying capacity, and so on. At the moment I'm working, it's the first time, I wouldn't have never been expected 10 years ago, or also 5 years ago to do it. I'm working on the Barolo area, food, wine route, and so on, which is a peculiar, like Barolo. We have 2 or 3, let's say, top level of the end of products, quality products. we are working on over-tourism. In certain period, they have too many people. They should do something. So we are working to identify some models in order to act together with the agriculture, local, of course, authorities, and so on. So that is in order to avoid over-tourism. When you ask people to pay 1,500 euro each for a wine tasting, that means that you are giving something or you are giving a special experience. You can have the noise and everybody together. It's not a problem. I mean, we should get into ethic concept, but it's not our task today. But what I want to say is very relevant in order to do that, to act properly, not to say you cannot come. Is a problem over tourism. First of all, is a problem of planning. So we should be able to plan, to organize. In the low season, we can do something. We can have different people. Sometimes it's relevant that in a small space, in a small room, you cannot put together people very noisy, but they're very good. They buy wine and they want to do their experience, but you should not match them with the sommelier or the most relevant, those who pay 1,500 euro per the wine taste. So it's a problem of organization. Level and type of tourism at the destination. Some areas are less fragile than others, so you must act like the land use for everything. Location and services, because accessibility, atmosphere is very relevant. I mean, for all the tourism is like that, but in such a case, it's particularly relevant. The distance sometimes between the social and cultural models. If I have French, if I have Italian, if I have German, if I have European people, I act in a certain way. Sometimes I did a lot also in practice on wine tasting and so on. We have sometimes a Chinese group. I don't want to say, no, please do not misunderstand me, but they're not able, they don't know wine. In a few years, they will be the first producer, maybe, but that group who is coming to visit us, maybe. So we must take care, we must explain them maybe in a different way that if we do with people who drink wine every day and they already know. Sometimes we have a demand who knows more than us, like producer on certain contests because they already went to Napa Valley rather than another place. So, and the difference, something I didn't say but I want to underline and is not written, is that the difference between our products, and I'm not speaking about Italy or France or Croatia, I'm speaking about all the countries we are speaking in Europe, we are developing in Europe, they are very care about a certain quality of our products. In other places, like in the States, the quality of the wine, of spirits, of what you mean is okay as well. I'm not saying that it's not good quality, but the idea and the concept of the tourism, they do marriage, they have a lot of McDonald's. On our small street, like in Europe, we do not have a McDonald's. We do not have a mall next door, maybe. So let's compare the destination that has a real value in order to develop. And then wine tourism can be the same. But I don't know if I've been clear, but we have different contexts, and we should to keep them separately and not to have everything done in the same way because we will spoil. And the most relevant point, which is the third, starting from the back, is the role played by the local community. We are working a lot on the dual gap model because we are going, in order to develop, to do the destination management process, to deal with the local authorities, to do what do they think about tourism, what they think about all the wine or other products we do with olive oil. It depends on the destination, what they want to do, and so we go to ask tourists what they were looking for, were they satisfied or not. There is all those parts are very important, and the wine producers, the sellers, and so on, to match them together. You cannot imagine the difference. They're speaking completely 3 different languages. And the community, if you speak about environment, the problem of the quality of air, the quality, the transport, the parking, we have a lot of things we should be done by the electric, let's say, local movement, tools, instruments, and so on. So that is very relevant, and we should not forget. And the synergy is very, very relevant. So now I'm finishing, I'm giving the conclusions. Here you can have a look of all the pipeline, the supply chain. We have at the left, of course, the agriculture, the products and the producers. And in the round you have, we put all of them because we have herbs, we have spirit, alcoholics, wine, oil, everything you can put over there, and how they act in a circular way. So, last but not least, the tool. Which tool are we using in order to reach our policy, our governance, let's say? We use the wine and taste routes. I did the law in Italy, I did the law in Spain as well. I teach a lot of those topics also with our colleagues from the University of Spain. We did comparison and so on. The route is an itinerary, but is not that written on a map. You can write it on the map, but it is not that written like for the motorway. I have to reach from A to B, and I have a certain, so if I go on Waze or where you want to go, you can see the itinerary. It's not that itinerary. Here, maybe you want to get lost, taking experience, knowing, checking something. So it's not to reach or how fast you do it, but are the points which give you the opportunity to have the emotions, producers, but also all those that you can see, you can go to check on that round table on which you can see. So in order to develop the route is something which brings together, is a network, the opportunity to do a campaign together, to do all the signals that you can put everywhere, to give you the way of communication. So it's a way of communication. So we're speaking about a destination management model. And the quality is very important. It arises from the quality of the raw materials, which are the products, but it's not just that. You must be able to have people to put them together, which is not easy, because you must decide how much do they pay. Because if it is a network, you should have different quotas and so on. It's a kind of sharing idea. So that point is very relevant. It's not, we do not have time to do that, but the network is very relevant because sometimes you should pay per bottles. How many bottles? How can I put together a small producer with a huge big one? But the role played by the destination is to bring them together with different levels. It's not so easy. We have many. They don't function. Many of them do not function. Why do we have many? So am I speaking to you about something which doesn't work? No. We have many because we had a law to promote routes, and many of when we have a law means that we have funds to be shared, and when you have funds, everybody tries to get, but now many of them do not work, and the other one works perfectly, and they are a good example. So those which do not work, they start to look at the other one and to repeat the example. That's almost all. That's all. Which are the goals of the route? You go and you read them, but many of those have been underlined yesterday and this morning to promote the knowledge of the rural products. So we start from the idea of agriculture and the rurality and so on. Of course, welcome tourists, increasing the flows, of course, to communicate everything, and to people can get lost on the way because they want to respire atmosphere and forget about the towns, the traffic and so on. So to discover treasures, for example, and to promote everything. So you can put what you like to do, but with a certain philosophy, because it must be with going slow, going in the minor, we say, in the land which is not discovered yet enough, and so on, to control the environmental impact, and so on, to promote that. Just to give you an example, I asked a person who is working with me, she's very good, she wrote a book with me, please go ahead to see, because there were some mistakes and so on, because I did it quite in a fast way. And there was, the last point was animal shows after the 3 points. She said, no, you cannot put animal shows. I say, why? We have beautiful animal shows. I'm not speaking to kill the bull, but I'm speaking to a kind of animal shows. They're very famous in the countryside in Italy. We're not speaking about a tight fight among cocks and so on. And she said, no, because now things have changed. No, we cannot say like that. People maybe they understand in the wrong way. I don't know if it is the wrong way, because for me the animal show is still something which can be done. So just to let you know how you should, in communication, to be in touch with the demand with the new generation. Sorry I went a bit longer. Sorry for the translator that I didn't use I just went surfing on my PowerPoint. Thank you.